Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back at it again with another episode of the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. We are the KC Soccer Journal. My name is Cody Bradley. Thad Bell and Robert Russert are here in the studio with me. The season is officially over. We can put it behind us. I've already put it behind. I've washed my hands of this season, Robert.
Hallelujah.
A lot of people washed their hands of this season like 2 months ago, quite honestly.
Right.
We washed them, we washed them, however you want to say it. We've washed our hands of this season.
Yeah, still got to make fun of my accent even when I'm trying to be prophetic.
No, it feels like home because I've told you my mother does that too. So it's a very familial thing there.
Yeah. So it's
I
an
love
old
you.
people thing now.
No,
Jeez,
I always
Cody.
thought it was a Pennsylvania. I thought that she got that from Pennsylvania.
I don't know how I got it except for my parents who grew up near St. Louis somewhere.
Well, aged yourself then. Maybe it is an old people thing. We'll just accept that.
St. Louis is known for a lot of those things.
Yeah. We're known for a lot of weird things.
So a lot has happened around the world of soccer. Things are going well for the Current. Chawinga is still on fire. USA versus Mexico. We've got roster moves that are going to be coming up. I want to get these two to tell you what they think is going to happen in the impending roster moves. But let's talk about the game last night very quickly. 2-1 loss in Dallas. I assume both of you watched it, the full thing. You sat through it and did it. I had a very long day. I was at a volleyball tournament, and it was long and hot and drunk, and I might have fallen asleep and missed the own goal. But I want to talk about the lineup, actually, before we dive into it. Some missing players, some mysterious knocks all of a sudden, middle of the week, Thad.
I don't want to say they were mysterious. I asked about it before the game in the last press availability because I saw some of them were not out there. And Peter just said that there was a lot of players that had knocks. So nothing, I know they were there because I saw them. But then after the game last night, I kind of just threw out there, like, was this a case of if it was an important game they could have played, but you just didn't want to and Peter's like, no, they're hurt. I'm not lying to you. This is what medical told me. I'm like, okay.
I'm not lying. You're lying.
I'm like it wasn't meant like I was accusing you. I was just kind of questioning, like, okay, how bad were they hurt? It was kind of, what I was alluding to.
Early start to the preseason there, Robert, sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, what was the point of having them out there, right?
Well, but if they were not hurt, yes, they would be out there because Peter's playing the best lineup he can, right?
To see Johnny in the shirt one more time, Robert, that's the reason.
All right, we know Cody's first pick for who's gone.
To have
No.
and see, I asked this several times over the last couple of weeks in different ways, and I don't agree with Peter on this, but it was like, oh yeah, we're still evaluating them every day. I'm like, if you haven't evaluated them by now, I mean, seriously, like,
Right.
What's
Good
the last
point.
game? Oh, they played hard in the last game. Honestly, that tells me you should be gone. If you played really good in the last game, but not the 2 months before that, get out of here.
We're pleased at the last meaningless 90 minutes, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if you're not playing hard when it was like still a chance, if you're just playing hard in this last game to like keep your contract, screw you.
Well, guys, I hate to tell you, but they went 0-5 in the last 5 matches, outscored 13-3. So I think maybe that happened a little bit sooner than last night.
Yeah, I hadn't really noticed that until I looked coming into this game that it was 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it didn't. I had just checked out, I guess, is why it wasn't hurting me or didn't feel
You
like
and
that.
everybody else.
But I looked at that and I was like, oh my God, they're going to lose the last 5 games of this horrible season.
After what, a 10-game winless streak again? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad. Yeah, and I had Mike give me the stats, right? So he mentioned this before, but it's the 19 losses is the most in team history in regulation time. There's 24 losses in 1999, but 6 of those were by shootout. 12 away losses is tied for the most in regulation with the 99 season. 9 points on the road is the fewest road points in the post-shootout era for Kansas City. And you need to do Mike stat.
Yeah, I was supposed to do it before, but
Man.
no. See, we're in the studio, so I don't have the sounders here, so I can't actually play that sounder. I mean, I can't just make it up on my own really quickly. It's well produced. I can't just do it right here, so I don't have the sounder.
Okay, I'm ready to hit the button. Go ahead.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Mike Stat.
Now, I'm not going to claim mine to be Mike stats because, they're just not. They're just macro stats. But 6, 7, and 4 at home. Not even a winning record at home. Yeah.
The blue hell no more.
And if you want to go further, third worst record in the league, tied for third anyway. Fourth most goals against with 66. And they were about 18th on goals scored. So that was a little better. But, yeah, a lot of macro stats that do not complement the performance this season.
But no wooden spoon.
Hey, all right.
As the league grows, it becomes harder to win MLS Cup. It also becomes harder to win the wooden spoon because there's more teams vying for being shitty.
And San Jose was pretty damn shitty.
I liked where you were going with the blue hell joke. It's still the blue hell, but for whom is the question.
For whom does the hell toll? Right. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot from this game. Shout out to Willie there for giving something. Didn't quit, played the full last end of the season there. He kept going.
Speaking of Willie, I have one more Mike stat.
Oh, and I called him Willie again. I'm sorry. William Agata. Yeah. I apologize.
William on at least the first reference. It's okay to use Willie after that because it's more.
Okay.
But another Mike stat.
I'm not going to have to do this anymore anyway. So
yeah.
William. Number 2.
Just bringing up William reminded me of the other part of is Mike stats was it's the second time in team history without a PK goal.
Wait, who?
For anybody.
For the team.
Sporting Kansas City went this entire season without a PK goal.
Yeah.
In regular season?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess that's right.
Feels about right.
Yeah, difference was...
I had to just process that for a second. I'm sorry for the dead air there to our listeners, but I wasn't listening, but wow, okay.
Yeah, 2000 regular season was also...
Kind of punched me in the face there.
I know. They did not score.
I can't be hurt by your words. Like I said, washed my hands of this season.
How many does Man City have so far, Cody? Any idea? More than none.
Are you sure we can't hurt you with words now? Leading scorer,
that wasn't
William
a
Agata.
Oh, God damn it. It wasn't a challenge, but you accepted it and you won.
The last guy to care on this team was William Agata. So you, Cody, in your William Agata hate, I am taking you down, man.
What I liked about that goal was after he got clattered by the keeper, Vermees, just at this point, like we were kind of talking about here, that he's dejected. He's just beaten by this. He's kind of over it. And he couldn't even get up off the bench to make his complaint to the referee. He saw that I could see what he was complaining about, but it was the half-hearted from what we're normally seeing from him when he's screaming and doing it. All he did was just kind of palms in the air. Like, come on, what was that? Like, red card, PK there, something? Like, give us something there. He took our guy out.
Did he celebrate the goal?
Not that I really saw. He was just kind of like, I just saw him like, oh, well, come on. What are you doing? What are you doing to us here? Come on. Yeah, half-hearted. Vermees is done, man.
There was no point to giving a card at that, No.
I know. Even the refs were done.
Some of them should be.
Vermees did sound pretty defeated after this. Or I don't know if that's the right word, but it was a different Vermees than I think we were used to hearing in the postgame, Thad.
He was just very much resigned to... We all knew they were out. They were eliminated. This meant nothing. All the words of wanting to go out on, with pride and hope and show our fight's still there and all that stuff.
That was gone.
You can mean it, but still sound a little hollow because that it's just going to be impossible. I mean, it's, if Jake Davis had been out there, yeah, somebody would have been hurting. But other than that, I don't think anybody cared.
He got asked about the first half, and it was just like, yeah, no, not good. It was really bad. Someone asked him about the Fernandez own goal. He was like, yeah, I don't know what he was doing.
So you got to feel sorry for Peter, though. He's
kind of did.
He's got a heck of a lot of work ahead of him, guys. And Peter, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not, here's your encouragement. Toughest things to get started, man. Just jump right in. You'll find your way.
The first step is the hardest.
It is.
Speaking,
Yep, go ahead.
Vermees pulled one of my lines, though. Hey, we scored 2 goals and lost 2-1.
One of your favorite dad jokes.
Yeah.
The dad sports joke.
I was kind of proud of Peter on that one because he did say we scored twice and lost 2-1.
What's the XG on that? Yeah.
Which, okay, so positive. They did have a good XG. They did have a higher XG than Dallas.
Oh, you said good, and then you said higher than who? New England?
Dallas in that game.
Yeah, right. So good and better than them is 2 different things.
Good relation to that game.
Okay, all right.
Robert, Joaquin Fernandez was maybe trending up.
Just
after
let
the
it
first
go,
game.
Joaquin. Just let it go. It wasn't going in.
Okay, I guess I know your feelings about
Yes.
Joaquin Fernandez. He was on the up and up after that first game.
Right.
What do we think after this second game?
Well, I made a comment in our Slack channel that it only took him, 1.5 games to fall into the sporting center back fallacy. But
It's a disease, not a fallacy.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
an infection.
It is. Losing is a disease. If you know that movie quote, just let me know in the comments. But anyway, Joaquin, we're going to have to look at him obviously a lot longer. And my question, though, and this relates to what we're doing later, is Cody's going to be mad at me, but we have 2 right center backs. Is it Rosero? Is it Fernandez? We'll have to see.
It's from the natural.
Yes, it is.
Either one of them can play left, though.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's just
Probably be Fernandez, my guess. But
me too, because I think we asked him about that at one point. Because I remember early on, like reports was he was left-footed, but he was not left-footed after all. So, like sites listed him as left-footed, so we pretty much all assumed he was left center back, and no, he's not left.
he's shown some good qualities, so obviously a lot to come.
Yeah, it's I don't want to get down on Joaquin. Yes, he made a clearly, obviously boneheaded mistake, but he had somebody running in on the backside. Yes, it would have went out on its own, but there was somebody coming behind him, and he knew that. He was situationally aware enough to know that there was somebody there, unlike some center backs we have seen in this league.
The best part of it, though, was this. Did you see Polskamp's reaction? Just the look on his face?
Yes.
And he never made eye contact with Fernandez at all. They didn't look at each other.
No, Polskamp had like that 100-yard stare that traumatized Vietnam vets had.
No, Polskamp has a fire within him when things are not going well. It's in training too. It's no more heightened in a game than it is in training. He is pumped up, revved it to 100 at all times.
Yeah, Big Bear is not because he's tall, hairy, and has big mitts.
It's only halfway because of that. All right, let's go to break, and then we're going to talk about the impending roster moves that we kind of expect to come pretty quickly. All right. Yeah, Thad, the roster moves generally come pretty quick. I am normally not even in off-season mode by the time they dump players or tell us what's happening with everybody.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw water on our segment here, but
He's going to.
I have to be honest, man. I have to try to tell the truth here,
Okay,
right? I have to give facts. Peter had already said that they're not going to come quickly this time.
Oh, okay.
First of all, they're not due until I forget what date, but there's going to be a press conference next week, and it should have Vermees and Mike Burns at. But Peter led the last press conference with, "We're not going to be doing these right away. We're not going to we're going to come out with a complete decision. We're not going to say, oh, we made a decision on these 5 guys and we still have these 5 guys." So a lot of that stuff's not going to happen right away, is what he was trying to say.
They got to prepare some branding material, some goodbyes for some of the players that we're not going to see anymore.
Yeah, there's that too. And in the past, a lot of times, because we would be in the playoffs,
Right.
it would be later.
It would be, yeah.
And
that's what it
literally,
is.
as they would get eliminated, 3 days later, they were, their name tags on their lockers were being handed to them in a bag.
Yeah, I guess I'm not used to this. As Mike pointed out, it's 3 seasons in the last 6 or the last 16, whichever you want to show if you're MLS. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I guess I'm still not used to this early end of the season.
No, we're not as used to. Yes, it's been 3 of the last 6, but as a fan base, it has not been the norm until the last few seasons.
Thad, what year is it that we had Mike in here one time and I was about to say this is the worst season in club history, and I felt his eyes and judgment on me knowing he had another season somewhere. What season is it? Was it 2002?
I thought it was 99,
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
99 is the worst one. Okay.
And then they brought in Vermees.
which we referred to earlier when we started this show, the 99 season. A couple comparisons. So, yeah.
Is that one worse than this? It just seems like in the new age of MLS. Now, see, that wasn't at the time when the club was in actual dark days, because then they turned it around and won the next year. So it couldn't have been the worst. There we go. That's my argument. They couldn't have been the worst because they won a trophy the very next year. So I'm calling this the worst one ever.
Wooden Spoon, 99?
No, because they've never.
Never won the wooden
okay. I
spoon.
thought it was worst to first.
That was a Mike stat, Robert.
Yeah.
We've
Yes.
never won the wooden spoon.
Okay, sorry
Only
then.
MS
I missed it.
original that has not earned the wooden spoon. I hate to say won the wooden spoon, earned the wooden spoon. But yeah, it's we're the only MLS original that has not earned the wooden spoon.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe we didn't need to rush through this segment and get all your predictions as quick. But like me, I think a lot of our listeners have also moved on as quick as they can from the season in the rearview mirror. So let's just get to this. I want to hear what you guys think. Let's tell our listeners what they can expect. You guys are as informed as anybody in KC media or just any fan of watching this team. You guys are informed. You know the roster rules. And I want to hear what you think is going to happen.
Well, Cody, there's another way to look at that. Without roster rules, without budget, one way to look at it is, all right, who's worth actually keeping if you were building a squad? And that's one way to do it. But we can go by the rules, too. Either way.
The first one sounds like better content.
I already have my list.
Yeah.
And the list only includes 6 people.
To keep.
Yeah. If there were no budget concerns, no roster rules, contracts, etc.,
Yeah.
I would keep 6 players to build my team around.
Of the whole roster or of the questions of options?
Of the whole roster.
Damn.
There's 6 I would keep.
You know,
Okay. Sorry,
Robert
7.
can be cruel.
7. I just missed one. 7.
7. Okay. Damn.
Yes.
Robert.
Like, let's just go with this. Let's go with his 7, and I want to see where we're going with that, and then we can try to work around what we can do.
Okay. We'll
this is without budget.
We'll eventually get back to an actual prediction of telling our listeners what is a good theory of what the team might do. But yes, now I got to hear this. I got to hear the only 7 players, regardless of contract situation in any way, that Robert thinks is worthy of the Sporting KC shirt.
All right. Jake Davis.
Yes.
You guys will applaud me for that. I wanted to say his name first. Afrifa.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Logan and Denbei.
Yeah,
Cavs.
Eric Dami.
yeah. He would be on mine.
Remy Voltaire.
Okay.
And for their veteran leadership and their contributions, I don't know if Melia would be my starter, but I'd keep Tim Melia and Johnny Russell.
Tim Melia. That would be a 38-year-old Tim Melia?
Hey, goalkeepers
He's
could
38
do that.
now.
38, so he would be 39-year-old Tim Melia and Johnny Russell. I like the list. I like it. That means Pulse Camp ain't it for you, huh?
No, I mean,
And hold
We
on,
were
just
talking earlier.
To be clear, those are 7. Everyone else is gone. Not just that, like, these are my guys.
again,
And
if
Pulse
it's
Camp could
no
be a
roster
backup.
rules, no budget concerns, etc., you just want to build an MLS team. That's who I would choose to
we
start with.
jettisoned every other player. I like it. I really like this, actually.
So, with Pulse Camp, and, this is based on years of coaching, just observation. I like John. John's a good guy. He's a great guy. I've interviewed him before. He's a great guy. I really like him. I'm just not sure that he has the mental steelness that is needed that Tim Melia has as a goalkeeper. Because you've got to be really strong mentally when things go bad. Yeah, you can get angry and yell if you want, but you've got to be focused here still, though, in your mind. And I'm just not convinced that John has that.
Yeah, we just talked about that too. I kind of like the fire that he has, but I've had that question where he's losing his mind at something like this in training. I'm like, all right, is
Yeah.
this a good thing or?
And it's not based on that. It's just watching him over time. I'm just not sure he has that element that a high-level goalkeeper needs.
Well, how about this, that I don't even know that I can pinpoint a reason, because I have seen what he can do when he is good. I just haven't seen it. It all hasn't come together yet. Like, that's the only reason I'm skeptical of it. He's had plenty of opportunities the last 2 seasons and just haven't seen it. I haven't seen the next step forward.
You often don't see it for younger keepers, though. He is 23, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, still young.
If people talk about like a winger, they're still trying to learn at 23. No, screw that. They need to be starting to hit their prime. A keeper, however, is quite different. Some of them don't even get starts, like consistent starts, until they're 25. Obviously, there are keepers who do. Like Schulte and trying to think of the other guy's name right now, but it's not Selena, and another one. But anyway, sometimes they do, and you go through lots of pain. I don't think Pulskamp doesn't have the mentality. I think he's 23.
Right.
And,
Just haven't seen it yet.
that anger from a midfielder that's, an 8 midfielder who shows that emotion is different than the keeper. And I agree with that, because it's a different role. But at the same time, it's still that same age. And I'm not saying that they're a kid and they're not an adult, because that's bullshit too. But it is just a different path. So I'm not ready to write off Pulskamp. In fact, if I was going to get rid of a keeper, it would sadly be Tim.
Yeah.
Not because I don't think he can't still do it for another year or two. And obviously his PK stopping ability is, phenomenal, the best. However, as long as he's sitting on the end of that bench, it's always going to be an option for Peter to say, I'm going to win today and I'm going to play Tim. And if this is I gotta take a segue, so I apologize. But going back to last week, I got a lot of good answers out of Peter in the last presser. And one of the words he used, and he's never used this in his entire time, was the word rebuild. He's always said there's a refresh or something else. And I asked him about that. He goes, yeah, I've never said this before, but this is a rebuild, okay? So rebuilds can be painful. They've not been willing to do a rebuild. They've always tried to do the refresh and manipulate the caps and all this stuff, which is exactly what got them into this trouble. But
and hold on to the things that they did like. They thought they had good parts, build on those.
And
yeah, he has always very carefully crafted that message.
Yes.
We're still close. It's not a rebuild. Can't hide behind that anymore.
Yeah, but now this is a rebuild. And when you're doing a rebuild, you have to take it into account. You may suck for another year, because it takes a while to bring in the right players, and you can't do it all in one. If we could do avoid all the roster rules like Robert did, yeah, you could bring in 20 new players and build around 7 guys, but you can't. So I'm just trying to level set how this is going to go. So if I understand that I'm going to have to rebuild and I'm going to have to take 3 windows still to try to do things, because you're going to have contracts that you got to work through and get out of, and you can't buy them all out because owners may give you more money than they've ever given you before, but they don't want to spend it after bad. Like, hey, we paid this guy $3 million, but we got to spend $5 million to get rid of him. No, that's not going to happen.
But in soccer, whether it's a refresh or a rebuild, the one thing you need is solid goalkeeping that is there. And Tim Melia is going to provide you that.
For how much longer?
Yeah, do we know that, though?
Next year,
And
at least.
He's already had some, well, I don't know that at least.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think I would like to believe it.
He's had a few, pitfalls recently, but he's also had the highs for extended periods.
He has. Again, if this was a team that was going to MLS Cup next year, keep Tim. I'm not arguing. If it's a team that's in a rebuild,
yeah, that's
now
agreed.
that's where I'm like, okay, yes, Pulskamp has his faults. Every 23-year-old keeper does, but you're going to give him experience and build on those faults. Hopefully,
now
build on those strengths. Not build on the faults, but eliminate the faults. Hopefully, by making him the guy.
I do follow Robert's logic there. I think the only defender of his 7 was Logan and Denbei, if I'm recalling correctly, which means it'd be a whole new back line,
Yeah.
which means maybe some young center backs in there. So, yeah, you throw in an inexperienced keeper with those guys. That's going to be pretty rough. So I could see that.
Well, I just wanted to get down to brass tacks. Who is really the strong players that, you can build a club around?
Well, the next point that stood out there to me was Steven Afrifa and no Vargas.
Yeah, I mean, Afrifa has ability that Vargas doesn't as far as on the ball. He's slippery, he's sneaky, he needs to remember to take the ball with him sometimes. But you can just see, again, just from my point of view, he has the abilities that you need. He just needs game time to develop them and refine them. Vargas, he's shown some good things. He has. And again, mine is no rules. You're rebuilding a team from scratch. Who are you going to keep? I want to keep Vargas on this team because obviously we have the rules and we have this. So I'm all for Vargas keeping him. But
I'm keeping the guy that just started playing like a few years ago and is already pretty good. I'm going to see what happens with that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I see Afrifa having a bigger ceiling.
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Again, I hesitate because the guys who hasn't played organized soccer until just a few years ago, I don't know that we'll ever have the instincts that a kid that's been playing it for younger. However, he can be trained to be, I don't want to say a one-trick pony, but more or less a one-trick pony. Run fast, go get ball, right?
He's good at drawing fouls.
Yeah, and so he obviously can be better than just a one-trick pony, but he can at least be that.
Well, if I remember, didn't he float a ball into the box for a nice assist earlier in the season, Vargas? Think so?
Not sure about
so.
that.
Yeah,
I think he did. Yeah.
I'll agree with you.
So he's got that in his toolbox.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm just saying that I'm not expecting a high ceiling out of somebody who didn't play for much longer.
Yeah, and that's another reason, if you're going to rebuild a whole roster with no rules, you're probably going to keep Afrifa and maybe not Vargas.
You used the word slippery to describe Afrifa, and I like that. He is. I wouldn't have said that of the first few times I saw him play, but he does have a little knack. It's just slippery, crafty.
Oh, yeah.
Has a knack for getting around that guy and keeping the ball at his feet.
And this is a guy who he didn't have the confidence, right? I mean, I wish he would have been here at the beginning of last year, but he just didn't have the confidence because he would make a mistake, and then you could just see him make mistake and dribble into guys and not do stuff. But once he gained confidence, all of a sudden he's doing a little bit better. And he's now understanding that I think that if you dribble into somebody and lose the ball, next time you still got to go in with confidence, right? So I think he's getting the call up to Canada, getting a couple minutes, all that stuff is helping him. So he does have that future. I don't know how high his ceiling will be. I don't think he's going to be like an MLS star, but I think he's going to be a serviceable winger.
I think that is a good list. Good 7 from Robert. But I do want to get a more realistic approach to this.
Reality sucks, man.
It does.
Thad, remind me, I'm testing this on you here. How many of the roster moves are there? It's there's 16 players. Is that what it is?
Yeah, but
with an option or
I guess
out
15 according to my list.
15. Well, because one of them left.
And one of them's gone. Oh, see, I nailed that. It was 16.
I think you're right. I'm not 100% sure, but I think you're right. 6 of them are out of contract and 10 of them have options or whatever that number is now.
Okay, of the out of contract, are you re-signing any of them?
I would re-sign certain players if they come back for less money.
Okay.
So one of those would be Johnny Russell. I love Johnny. Great person. People always talk about his leadership, but he's not led this team to any cups.
Mm-hmm.
That's harsh.
Tim Melia has. So it's, man, I love Johnny. I just would like to see him come back as a diminished role for less money and hopefully still earn himself a cup at some point a year or two down the road.
I really wanted to push back against you there on your Johnny talk, but it was factual. And I couldn't find it. You were right.
So I did because of course Cody's like, yeah, these guys know all the roster rules, they know all the stuff, and then he goes 10 minutes before I'm leaving the house, he goes, oh, I want your list. I'm like, dude, I wasn't ready for the list.
10 minutes. That was this morning. I gave you a long time.
How do you know when I saw it?
Oh, well, that's not my fault. What are you gonna do?
But so I quickly went through and I love Tim again if he comes back for a lesser contract, which he's not on a high contract now compared to a lot of other guys. I worry that as long as he's sitting on the bench, other guys aren't going to get time. And if this is a rebuild, other guys need time. Whoever that is.
Let me interject there. One thought I wanted to get in about Melia and Pulskamp. Remember, Melia came on. When did we find him? He was already almost 30, right? Wasn't he
Right.
almost 30
Yeah.
when we found him?
Mid
He was
late
a-
20s, yeah.
He was a pool keeper. We're talking about Pulskamp here, like, oh, he's 23. He's not amazing yet. Let's get rid of this guy. And we found
I never said
we
that.
found one of our best keepers in club history off the NFL MLS pool players, and when he was on like the other side of 30 already. So you never know.
See, the years of struggle and everything formed that steely mind of his.
100%, 100%. You're right.
Training with Ramondo helped a lot.
Sorry, Thad. Continue. So we're keeping my count here so far is Johnny Russell at reduced and Tim Melia at reduced.
Yeah, actually, next to Tim's name, I have an X, so that means gone. But I'm
Okay.
very.
So that's like you believe he's probably gone?
This is what I would do
Okay.
a little bit more, but
Okay, let me write this
I'm a-
down. I'm writing this down.
I have it written down right here.
Well, I'm keeping my own notes here. I want to know. This is important information.
Fontes is out of contract and great human being. I would hope he stays around and opens up Casa de Padels or whatever that thing is.
Casa de Padel.
Opens up more of those and maybe
You been
know,
yet?
No,
But you want more of them to open?
Yeah.
Okay.
because I wish them well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, same thing. Same.
Just again,
Such
I'm
a sweet guy.
being cold-hearted about this stuff as you need to be.
As
right?
you're ruining his career, you're like, oh, I hope their side gig works out.
Ruining his career.
He's at the end of it no matter what. And I think me saying that if I was the GM and I would not re-sign him is not ruining a guy who's played in La Liga's career. A guy who's played with Messi, has him on speed dial. Says, hey, Leo.
Speed dial.
Speed dial. Nice reference.
At least locker room visits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it moving.
And, multiple jerseys.
Robert,
right.
you seem to have agreed mostly so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
There's only one player left that's out of contract. So
And who's that?
Remy Voltaire.
I really like Remy, so he's another guy who I struggle with, but I might let go.
Because he's going to need more money. Like if he's out of contract in a new contract, he's going to make more than that, I bet. Because there's another MLS team that would probably pay him more than that.
Yeah, there probably is. He's a really good player. He's a guy who I think would be very good on a lot of teams. But the problem I see with a lot of this roster is all these guys are serviceable MLS players. At minimum, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of these guys we're talking about, that's even a question, is a serviceable player. They could play in a lot of MLS teams and do well. The problem is none of them are high enough level to keep the team being better, if that makes sense. So you got to pick and choose. Like you can only keep so many of those. For me, I would keep Tommy and not Voltaire, or Voltaire and not Tommy.
Well, that's not an option. So
That's why I'm going with what I'm doing.
yeah.
So Tommy obviously is a keep. Well, I don't say obviously he's a keep, but he's option for 25. So he's a guy that can be kept with no change.
Right.
Some carryover. I think also there's a little veteran presence there too.
For Remy or for Tommy?
Yes.
For Tommy. Sorry,
okay.
I was fidgeting and I unplugged my mic or my headphones. I couldn't hear you.
So, as far as Remy goes, he is a player who is, he can play multiple positions.
Yeah.
And he can play them well enough on an acceptable level. He's best as an 8, and I think he can be a pretty strong 8, and he's shown that as long as he's got the right guys around him.
Right. Don't disagree.
So, I think Voltaire, just because of versatility, as long as he doesn't want, exorbitant more, maybe comes back at a similar contract, maybe slightly less, maybe. He seems to be bought in, so I wouldn't be surprised if he would.
Yeah, which is, again, why I don't necessarily want to get rid of a lot of these guys. You have to make room to get somebody that's better.
Oh, sure.
So that's where the struggle is where can you find, if they come back next year with 4 new center backs for all La Liga level kind of guys, are they a much better team? Yes. Are they a good enough team to compete?
4 center backs. Okay. We're going to play a 6-3-1 next year.
No, I didn't say play 4 center backs. I said come back with 4 center backs who are better. Because I know you didn't want to keep any defenders except Logan.
We always want 3 center backs, 3 decent center backs that can play. We had 4 that could kind of play.
I'm just done with Volater, guys.
Yeah, I like Rosero. I'm still on board with Rosero.
Nobody has covered themselves with glory at center back this year. No.
True that.
Volader, I feel, has actually stepped up to become better this year. I'm not saying he's an MLS.
He has, but
I'm not. He's still relatively young. Center backs is another one like goalies. Like center backs sometimes take a little while longer to become better. They also last a little bit longer. But
his 3 years is up. What are you doing with Volader? Buying him.
Yeah, sadly. I mean, he's got an option for next year, so he's not on like a huge budget.
Oh, he does have an option. Okay.
Well,
option.
I'm not sure how much his pay is right now because he's a U22 player.
Is that same with Logan?
Yes.
Because I know all 3 of those guys came in on 3-year deals. I guess I wasn't aware that there was an option for a 4th from them.
Yeah, it's club option, though.
Yeah, Logan's on a 2025 option.
Okay.
And he's... I was trying to think. Did they... I was wondering if they re-signed him at some point, though. I guess not.
Oh, that kind of does sound familiar.
Like I might be
Like
going
at
off
some
of
point
slightly,
last year
something
they-
slightly older.
Oh, okay.
Well, according to the KC Soccer Journal, who you guys might have heard of, it's option for him here. So
Okay.
Yeah, and that was put together by Chad, who did a good job with all that stuff.
yeah,
But that's what I went off to. So I'm just like I'm trying to think of did I miss something there though?
So keep going down the list. I haven't heard really any really tough goodbyes yet. You kept Melia, you kept Russell.
if they're willing to accept less.
Right.
And again, next to Tim's name was an X.
Right,
So
that's right.
Next to Fontas was an X. Next to Remy was an X. And only because if I was keep Tommy or keep Remy, I would keep Tommy.
Yeah,
Tommy,
you're right. Fontas is a sad one. We like him a lot.
Yeah, again, wonderful person. Go open more Casa de Pedals. And again, the only reason Tommy versus Remy is I only want to keep one of them, and Remy is actually better as a winger than he is a midfielder. Whether he likes that or not is still true, and winger depth right now is probably going to be harder to just bring in to become better.
I mean, there are players I wish that were on the list of club option or out of contract. But
Like who?
I'm sorry, guys.
Polito, both strikers.
I know it's sacrilege, but Shallowy just needs to be gone. I love him. He's a great guy. He is. But
It was not a good year for Daniel Shalloway.
nor was last year.
I know, but he has been an up and down player. Like coming into this season, many people still believed he had like another gear to find, or he could do this, or he could come back with a really strong year. And it just went the other way. And it feels like a very long time since we've seen what we love from Daniel Shalloway. A very long time.
And he hasn't changed his game to adapt to become a better player. He's still doing the same thing, which, that's who he is. I get it. But I just think it's time. But
Yeah,
Not
I
gonna
feel
be
you
for
on
another
that.
season.
But at the same time, in a rebuild, needs some roster carryover.
well, he's going to be around. So
He is a good personality, fan face. We can.
Yeah.
There's something there.
And it still feels like if he found a tiny bit of confidence, all of a sudden
Yeah.
he's gonna. I'm not gonna say he's gonna like light it up and lead the league in scoring, but he can go back to scoring a few goals.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been there, and we as I'm gonna go just totally on the fan side for a second. We as fans are depressed about this team and how they've played and how everything has went. Just imagine being on the inside of that. Like you're not getting results. That's your job. But this is your job because you love playing soccer. You love to win, and record-setting number of losses, and
And
couple-
you're trying really hard. The guy next to you, is trying really hard.
Yeah.
So what the heck is the problem here? Like, what more do you want from us?
Yeah, because I mean, throughout your life, everybody's like, try harder, play better, and you do, and it works. And now it doesn't, because now they're bringing in guys that were superstars in the world, and you're having to play against them. And sometimes you get old and you slow down. Sometimes you get older and just don't have that same connection, whatever it is, and it goes. So, as depressed as we are as fans, they have to really friggin' be depressed.
Well, I mean, as pundits, there's so much we don't know. But
Right.
one of them that you guys are alluding to is we don't know, for example, Daniel Shelby's mindset. Maybe he's like, all right, I need somewhere else. I need a new start. I'm not motivated enough here. I'm not getting what I need here. I need a new start. So we don't know their mindsets.
Caden Pierre is a good example.
Right.
He's a guy that we think could have been a regular starter at right back. Maybe.
I hated to see him go.
I know, and I honestly think if he stayed, he would have a lot of playing time. However, he had the opportunity to play in Europe and get a fresh start. How many times did he say a fresh start,
Right.
fresh start, a fresh start? Just somewhere where they don't see him as always injured and never making it.
Okay, so we spent time on Shallowy there. Irrelevant to this discussion because he's sticking around. Keep going on the list.
Do you want me to run the list down so we know?
Who else are we jettisoning?
Oh, okay.
Oh, next on my list was Rodriguez.
Memo.
I had a maybe next to him because I'm trying to balance where the other moves are. Because you still have, he's a guy that I don't want starting all the time, but could be a spot starter and late game relief and stuff like that.
Liked
But-
Memo. Good addition
Yeah.
this year.
Way better than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. But if you're elevating the midfield by bringing in a couple other players, now he's farther down that depth chart, and
He's such a Vermees guy.
yeah.
Gritty, play where you need him. Run
Yeah.
till he dies.
And like you said, Thad, is the midfield the priority in the offseason? I would think so, especially since,
They're all a pro. Well,
we're
I was
going to
gonna
have.
say, can we afford a priority? Like, I don't know.
Well, we got a center back in, and then, Polito and Agata.
and we know he can score.
And yeah, there's literally no room to sign another striker because they
Unless
have
we-
two strikers.
Unless we buy out Polito and we let Willie go, or one or the other. But, Memo reminds me a lot of myself. And here's what I mean by that. I was a pretty good player in my context, but I lacked the confidence to be the dominant player that maybe I could have been. And that's how I see Memo in the final third. He's a great deep line playmaker. He can spray the ball around the field, things like that. But I think it's just in that final third, he lacks I used Steely before, the mental confidence, the Steely mindset that you need to be effective consistently in the final third. I think he's a good player. I just think he lacks that. I see a lot of himself in me. But
Who's next up on the list?
Let's see. Robert Castellanos.
Casty.
Actually, because he's on an option, I would keep him.
does he want to stay?
Yeah, what happened to Chivas? I thought they were sniffing.
They were.
They're sniffing no more?
I do not know that. I think they might still be sniffing because they always want a player with the Mexican roots. Because
Right.
they got away from having to be Mexican born to now you just got to have a Mexican ancestry, and he fits that well. And he's some people will disagree, but I think he's a decent center back. Is he?
Yes.
There's the levels in my mind. MLS starter, third center back, fourth center back, and he's at least in that third to fourth center back range for me. Problem is when you only have third center back level players.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're a lower table team, then that third tier you're talking about is just a starter.
And then so again, I know I've said that they're not going to turn over the entire roster. First of all, they can't. Second of all, you can't just turn over an entire roster in that amount of time because of the amount of effort it goes into finding players and all stuff like this. Casty is a guy who, unless Chivas comes with a ton of money, why sell him? Because the amount of time and effort to replace him now just takes away your effort to get another player. So unless they bring, they want to buy him for $1 million, buy Casty, love you.
Mm-hmm.
I won't root for you again. But if it's just hard to say get rid of this guy because they want him. Tough. You got to make it worth your while because it's got to be cost efficient to go get another player that's that level or better.
Okay. Obviously, defense is more than just the center backs, obviously.
Yes.
But the way that we're talking so far, it seems like we're keeping this center back core. Okay, Fernandez may be a world beater. He may be great. I don't know. We'll find out. But if you're going to keep Volder, you're going to keep Castellanos, you're going to keep Rosero, it's the same crew. I don't know. How good is Rindolph? I don't know.
Oh, he's definitely on my gone list.
So, okay. So you're going to keep Volder and Castellanos and basically the same center backs? I don't know.
Well, the biggest money guy on that list is one that we've said is gone in Fontes.
Right, but he hasn't played much.
I know, but he was supposed to be. Like, he was supposed to be, like, CB1. I mean...
Well, and for a while, he was always playing, and he was better than people gave him credit for. But
yeah,
because I think also his second contract, it went down because he was making $1 million at one point.
Well, right. So the point I'm making is they've gotten that salary out of there. They very well could believe in their heads they have a significant investment coming at center back, and we could have 2 new center backs or a new star center back.
But I understand why you're saying, Robert, is do you keep Volader, do you keep Rosero, do you keep Joaquin, who's only here for 1 more year under contract? Castellanos. Is that 4 terrible center backs? Well, they obviously haven't been great this year. Rosero, where's his roster status?
As far as injured? Or you're saying...
No, Rosero is safe.
Yeah, he's got at least 1 more year.
That's what I was trying to look down my list here.
Yeah, I gotcha. His contract ends in 2025, option for 2026.
Yeah, so he's going to be around because they're not going to spend time to buy out a guy who is only going to be around for 1 more year and isn't a bad option. That's what makes it tough, though. So if you keep Rosero, Joaquin, and Castellanos, if you can add 1 more center back to that.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's...
And if the plan is to put Fernandez at left center back, okay.
Yeah. And again, I don't think Volder has been as bad as you, but he has not been perfect by any means. And a lot of that is everything in front of him, too, but there's a lot of factors.
I think that group you said, if a new center back comes in and is better than all of those, okay, then I think that's a serviceable group in this league. Better than we would have this year.
Especially in process of a rebuild.
Of a rebuild, exactly.
Because, again, I'm not looking at winning the MLS Cup next year.
So, I mean, I've said this before. It's been a little while, but good center backs just influence what you can do on the field so much. When we had, we'll go back to Opara Beasler. Beasler was the guy who could play the ball well out of the back. He could spray the ball around accurately, etc. And, Fontes was that guy. We haven't had that guy since, and that's been something that's been missing. And then, Opara could cover, anything else you needed as far as that went. And, of course, they have to have good wide backs, which I think we do. But, if we get a major upgrade of that center back, it could really make a difference for this team.
And you need the upgrade at midfield, who is going to protect them better.
Exactly.
We need not Tommy playing there. We need Radoya to be his best or somebody else playing that role. But he's around for a couple more years.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, again, they buy him out, which it's going to be hard for them to go buy out players because that's kind of throwing money to get rid of something when you could be spending that somewhere else and improving it.
Right.
What's the next question we got on the list, Thad?
Afrifa,
keep. Danny Flores, buy. Chris Randolph, buy. Ryan Sheway.
Buy as in goodbye, not buying them.
Right.
Adios.
Yeah, sorry. And again, nice guys. Have a good day. Ryan Sheway, I keep. He's under contract till 2027. I've seen him in 2 games, and I don't know how good he can be, but they were very high on him at one point. But somebody needs to push Pulse Camp.
Well, okay, his contract expires, but he has options through 2027.
Correct.
Yeah.
Kyrie Shelton, who's under contract through 2025 with an option for 2026.
Jeez.
You're not going to move him. He's your right back right next
What
year.
about Cisneros?
Gone. I have a double X next to him, sadly.
Oh, God. Why 2 X's?
He's not even on the team anymore.
Oh, okay.
He's on loan.
That's right.
sorry, it was being mean. If he can't play for our two teams, why is he playing in another
Yeah.
MLS Next Pro team? That just tells me that they lost. Or, again, I don't know this, but perhaps they just saw him needing to get away from the environment he was in, but he hasn't lit it up there either. So, Shelton, Radoya, Leibold, who's under contract for next year with an option 26. We already talked about Rosero. We talked about Postcamp. Polito, everybody would love to buy him out, and I just don't know how much that would cost, but they're unlikely to do that, but he's under contract through 2026. Shalawee, we've already talked about. Vargas, we've talked about. Jake, we all say no. The first player all three of us probably keeps is Jake, and then Joaquin Fernandez. That's the roster there.
So 2 things. Number one, on the broadcast last night, they were talking about how much they had talked to Peter in the lead up to the game. And, we've heard this before. The owners are going to give the most money they've give, and they keep talking about a 4-window buildup.
It's 3 now.
Yeah. But
I thought they were saying 3, and maybe it was 2 now.
they actually said 4-year last night on the broadcast. But anyway.
Yeah,
okay.
But they also can't pronounce Kansas City. They also called a 28-year-old player young, which
but
compared
here's the
to
other
him,
thing.
he's young.
Here's the other thing. We're talking about players. And, I would love to see Benny Feilhaber on this coaching staff. Do you think there's going to be change there at all?
Ooh, coaching staff change. That's an interesting question.
Which is a question that I want to ask when they have the next presser, because then it'll be focused on the postseason more. Again, they're not going to talk players until they make all their decisions, which that's fine. I respect that. But at the same time, if they're going to have Burns there and Peter there, that's a question I do want to ask. Because I also, in the lead up to one of those questions I asked him was, we don't know how much other staff change will happen. Because I was trying to prep that, get that out there a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
We made it all the way through the roster questions, yes?
Yes, sir.
Well, we discussed a lot. I don't know if we have any final answers.
So we've actually, what a lot of people have been saying, there may not be
I know
much change as we'd like to
That's
see.
what I was getting back to there is it's not, a whole bunch of jettisons. It's not a whole new roster rebuild. It's slow. A slow rebuild is coming.
Well, it's just the nature of the contracts and the cap and all of that stuff coming into play. And
That's why my game was more fun.
Well, and to be fair, there were a lot of goodbyes on the list. It's just they were
Right.
backup players and
supplemental
second team
players. And on the
which, to be fair, Robert, that's one of your biggest points all year is the depth of the team. It had to get better, should have gotten better, and it didn't. So they're acknowledging that.
I do expect, I will say, 2 players to come up from the 2-team/academy. Seba Cruz, I think, will be one of them, and Ian James. I'm expecting the 2 of them, at least one of them, if not both of them, to be
Seba
on the roster.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, I think Ian James is a good option for that too, but hopefully they sign him and then loan him back to the.
I was going to say that's all this means though with this team in the last 5 years is they sign a first team contract and maybe play a half of a U.S. Open Cup game, and they're just an SKC2 player too. Still,
well, Jake Davis would disagree with you. Caden Pierre would disagree with you at least somewhat.
man, it took Caden a long time to do that though. Jake has been with the first team. He was up here for a long time though.
Yeah, but that's how you progress. You get the contract, you move up. There's nobody down there that's going to come up and become a superstar on day one, on first month, first year, second year.
Why not? Let's get a better farm system. Where are these players? Get them up here.
One of them's playing in Venezia.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
All right, guys. So I'm just going to throw this question out here. I don't know if this is the way we end this segment or not, but what are the odds that all 4, Russell, Voltaire, Amelia, and Fontes, are gone? Where do you put the odds at?
50-50.
50-50. Okay. Cody?
That all of them are gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. 50-50 is maybe close there. No, I think it's less than that. Though one of those
40-60?
players will be kept. I think Johnny Russell's coming back. Talking myself into it.
I would like it. I really would. Again, with the lower contract and with the understanding that somebody else has to start.
He saw Roger Espinoza's precedent set last season, and he's going to do it too because he loves Kansas City.
Yeah, I think he wants to stay here.
Did
so.
Graham Zusi.
Well,
Love Sporting Kansas City.
Graham Zusi signed like at least 2 contracts after people thought he was gone and done and old. So,
But he might see what happened to Graham Zusi and decide, yeah, I'm done.
yeah, I don't know. I talked myself into it. He's coming back. A cheap Johnny Russell. Going to be a hell of a contract for this team to make up for Kyrie Shelton.
6 to 7 new players. That's my guess.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
They may not be starters, but depth. Supplemental players.
Always that damn caveat.
Oh, if
Jeez,
that people are going to not be happy. If we get there to the next season like that, they sign some supplemental players, mostly the same roster
geez.
next season. Oh, my
If
God.
we don't get midfield reinforcement, guys, we're cooked anyway. So
Yeah, but now they at least
Gotta
have
get
a
a
budget.
10.
At least they know what they can spend, right?
Got to get a 10.
They're,
Give me a South American 10, baby. I go to bed at night trying to manifest that.
Man, I heard a tale very recently from somebody who would know is that they had a 10 like ready to go, like everything agreed, transfer fees, everything. And the owner said, I don't know if we can spend that much money right now.
Oh, Ronaldo's a 10? Oh, okay.
No. It was not Ronaldo. It's not the guy that went to Chicago, that wanker.
And this was how long ago? This was last offseason?
Yeah, that was coming into this preseason, last preseason. And that player went, I know where he went. I've tried to figure out exactly who it is. I haven't figured out who it is, but it was supposed to be.
You mean you know what league he went to?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, well, if you know the team, is it not obvious?
No, it's. I have like 5 candidates, but I don't know which one it was. But it was, they were supposedly looking at like spending. They wanted to spend Polito money on the guy.
Is it someone that we would have loved and adored
Well,
Don't know.
and pinned all our hopes on?
Well, I think that is relevant because this was the first year ever we heard Vermees put anything on the ownership at all. Like even the first like low key reference to it.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense to me. Like he maybe reached a breaking point there. Like I tried to tell you this team wasn't good enough. I found a guy to sign. We were ready,
Yeah, 'cause
and
this-
y'all said no.
This would have been a 10 with Latin flair, if nothing else. I don't know. I don't know the right way to say this without giving something away. But, and again,
A Latin spice.
if it's one of the 5 guys, I think it would have been they've scored high single digits and assisted in low double digits.
So not the son of Carlos Marinelli? No.
No. But again, I yeah, but Peter, the only time that Peter had ever alluded to the owners not giving him money was they had a guy under contract and or wanted to do it and they weren't able to, and then the next year they were bad, and then that's when they got Polito, and that's when they got Polito. So that expenditure was there, but now it's got to a point where they weren't spending more money. Because you're going to have to compete in this league. You're going to have to spend. You don't have to be the top spender to compete, but you have to spend money. And so Peter finally got to the breaking point because he's always, to his detriment, because it's gotten him the hatred of everybody. Is he was the good soldier. He wasn't throwing anybody under the bus. He was taking the heat, and now it finally got to the point where he wasn't taking the heat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like fans will say, "Oh, he's always throwing players under the bus." No, he really wasn't. He was. But when he did, you knew that it was really sending a message. So,
Okay. Thank you for that. We got our roster moves episode done early. This was good. Okay, yeah, let's take a break and then we'll come back. Decision day was pretty crazy yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about that and then we got the current as well. We'll be right back. Temwa Chawinga, Thad, 20 goals, an NWSL record, and on the final game of the season, she scored a goal against every team in the NWSL.
final home game.
Yes, final home game.
One more game.
Final
after
home
this.
game. That's right.
They play one more game in Chicago.
That's right.
And she broke the record that was previously held by Temwa Chawinga.
All right.
So, but
Yes. So there is one more game left, so they have 2 more chances here. We are going to talk about this quickly because I'm sorry we're recording at a weird time. The 2 important games, the Current got their win, But the two important games that we're watching are still yet to play today on Sunday. They're going to be watching Gotham. They're going to be watching the Spirit. We need draws from both of them. Neither of them have an easy game. So we will be watching that very closely. And I think by the time you're listening to this, listener, that the Current will be in second place. It's my prediction, Thad.
Why would we not want
Or I just
losses
sound
from them?
stupid. Okay, yeah, a loss. I'm just saying that's all we need. We just need
You said
them.
we want a tie. I'm like, no, I want a loss. For them.
Yeah, okay, that's a valid point. We just need them to drop points in some way for
Yes.
the Current to get into second and play at home all the way through the playoffs.
And then the Current would hold their destiny because they could beat Chicago next week, and they would be in second place if that result.
And Temwa Chawinga can add to her record even more. 20 goals, Robert.
The girl is, you use the phrase inevitable.
Inevitable.
What's the phrase for her? She's more than that, right?
Yeah, I was saying inevitable like a month into the season. She felt inevitable. I don't know what she is at this point.
Is she a given?
Thanos was inevitable. They ended up beating Thanos. I don't know that there's beating Temwa Chawinga.
And there should be no doubt about her being the MVP at this point, I think. The only other candidate was Barbara Banda. There's other candidates, don't get me wrong, but Barbara Banda was the one that everybody's like, oh, she's the best. And they would say like, oh, she's got higher points per game or things like that because she played less games. But now Temwa has more points per game, still slightly less points per 90, but like it's like 0.75 to 0.74.
Now,
And-
Barbara Banda's team is in first.
Yes.
What are the assists breakdown for those two?
Temwa has more.
She does have more. So yeah. Not a debate. Temwa's your MVP.
But they're pretty close, I believe.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Temwa.
If you especially go goals and assists, she's up there. She's
I
number of game-winning goals.
Number of game winners. There you go. That's another good one.
Chawinga has 6 assists.
Yeah, Thad nailed that.
Tied for third. Like the most was Croy Bethune, but she's injured, so she's got. I think Bethune's got like 10. I forget who has 7, and then there's like 3 or 4. or
Alyssa
5.
Thompson.
Yeah, has like 6 assists. At least according to NWSL, because FBref doesn't apparently give hockey assists.
Well, very happy for TC6. Fingers crossed today for the Current.
Is that a good nickname for her?
Did you make that up?
No.
Okay.
Somebody else did. Literally, like yesterday was the first time I actually referred to her that way.
I have to admit, if you made it up, I like it more knowing you didn't make it up.
What does that mean? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That means Cody has love for me.
All right, yeah. I hope I don't sound stupid because you guys are listening to that and maybe they're not in second, but manifesting it, baby.
They were in second as we recorded this.
Right.
Yes.
But yeah, both of those play this afternoon, not long after we get done recording.
That's right. How about decision day in MLS yesterday? Sad for Sporting KC, boring for Sporting KC, but it was honestly an insane decision day. Were you checked into this at all, Robert?
Oh my God, the Galaxy.
Oh man. So yeah.
You got to feel for it, but then again, you're like, oh, okay, well that's fine with me.
So I don't know what you took your mic off for that one. What was that?
I just said screw them.
Oh, screw. Yeah.
I knew I had the mic off. I was just trying to be in the background somewhere.
Well, so what happened there was LA Galaxy and LAFC have the exact same record, and LAFC scored a stoppage time goal to go up 3-1 over San Jose.
They were down 1-0 early.
Yes, they came all the way back and in stoppage time got the goal that they needed to put them ahead on goal differential of the Galaxy to take first place.
Because Houston scored in like the last minute against the Galaxy.
Right. Yeah, that was insane. 52 goals scored total on decision day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
What percentage was scored by Miami?
Yeah.
God, did
A
you guys watch that
measurable
game? Did you
percentage.
guys watch that game?
I was not watching. I saw all the goals and highlights, but
Jeez. New England's not, ultimate MLS team, obviously, but God, just Suarez and Messi and Alba.
No,
they're
I know.
so good together.
I sent that.
So good.
I sent that in our Slack. I've gone back and forth with this all year. I love Messi. He is obviously a brilliant player, but sometimes the more he beats down these teams and does it so lackadaisically, I'm like, is he that good, or is Major League Soccer that bad? Is it an indictment on the league, or is Messi just still Messi and he could probably do this against a lot of teams around the world?
Well, it's an indictment against the revolution, that's for sure.
Yeah, that game was for sure. Yeah, it really was.
He can still do it in a lot of places. I mean, MLS is obviously not a top 5 league, but it is the 9th best league in the world.
Number 9.
And he scored a hat trick against who this past week? Bolivia? I don't know, somebody.
Oh yeah, Bolivia. They beat Bolivia 6-0.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, he's on fire. Is Bolivia good?
Apparently not. The other one from Decision Day that I was watching was DC United. DC United was score watching. I guess they were also watching that LA FC result. I thought they were
Different
watching.
Different conference.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I'm not sure who they were watching on the screen, but they were the fans, the players on the field were all screen watching after they had failed to do their job all season, and were huddled together watching their fate just sink away. And man, that really was an awesome Decision Day, and Sporting Kansas City had nothing to do with it.
So Montreal and Atlanta ended up in the 8-9 spots in the East, and going in, DC had one of those slots. Yeah.
Right.
And Philly was even a factor, and they ended up out of it.
Good day around the league. There's still fun parts of Major League Soccer. For all of the grumbling we do, the parody still was there on that final day. It was good.
Yeah,
and St. Louis got beat 4-1. So that
And
helped.
even
Yeah, but they finished one spot above Sporting.
Yes, they did.
That makes their day. That's screw them.
All right, so who do we think is going to win it all, guys? You got a pick?
well, Messi is back on the field and he seems to be fit. So I think they've just been waiting for the playoffs to get him fit and make sure he was capable of staying on the field for the playoffs. So it's hard to pick against them, but Columbus is obviously fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Lafsy.
So good that they got the only cuss word out of me in this episode. I didn't even realize it was coming. Now I have to change the rating on the episode.
You can bleep
Col-
yourself.
Columbus is that good that they make me question if they can do this against the superstars that Miami has.
They can.
They can.
It's going to be either or. It's going to be Columbus or Miami.
Yeah, I'll be very surprised if it's not either of them.
You don't think LAFC?
LAFC is very
No.
good.
They have too
Honestly,
many
the
faults.
Galaxy is too. Like if the Galaxy just score enough goals, which they can.
Their defense is appalling.
I know, but that's what that's one good game, a couple shots off the post for the Galaxy, and they can do some damage, I think.
That would be an entertaining final, though, is Galaxy and Miami.
Yeah.
Just like terrible defense, amazing offense.
Yeah. Terrible matchup for the Galaxy, though.
Miami would destroy them.
Yeah, well, anybody would. Some teams that I know locally.
All right, MLS regular season in the books.
Are you gonna take time to decompress before like really thinking about sporting again?
Nah, I've had moved on from the season a month ago, I guess. So I'm already moved on, ready for the next year, ready for spring training. Let's go.
I might do something crazy, Thad. I might actually write an article about something,
Look at that.
which it's been a while for me.
Man, I love soccer, man, and I like watching it and being in person and shooting it and all this other type of stuff. But it has been a long, long season.
It was a
man.
grind, dude.
Sporting,
Can beat you
Current.
down.
SKC2.
SKC2, Copa America, Open Cup, whatever that fake cash grab cup was.
Because even the Comets had a long season and extended
went to the
that, and
final.
that was also this year.
That's true.
You know, the Current had 2 fake cash grab cups, which one of them is the final is being played this Friday.
So much soccer.
Yeah.
Are we diluting the product in this country, Thad?
No.
Even us, the diehards, are sitting here like, oh, God. Damn, I'm glad this is over.
Yeah, but there's still how many million out there that don't give a shit about MLS?
Yeah.
And it's not that, yes, I'm glad that it's over because I'm a little bit tired, but also I'm glad it's over because it's been a grind because Sporting was bad. It's less of a grind for the Current right now because they're a little more fun.
No, it's not being diluted. Did you guys see that winner for Man City today in stoppage time?
No?
Missed it.
Yeah, baby. Thad, what about USA versus Mexico? We actually didn't discuss that at all. We previewed it a little bit. Poach sent home some key players, and it did not turn out the best performance for the Americans.
No, I really needed to pull that clip. Like, yeah, we were not good. that was
Oh, see, you didn't even need to pull it because
That's
you
pretty
just
good.
did it. That was great. Sounds just like him.
yeah, he people I wanted to kind of come in and joking like Pochettino out, Berhalter in. And I'm the guy who's not hated on Berhalter, but
You know who's able to beat Mexico? Berhalter was.
yeah.
But can he bring the Chicago Fire back?
But he cared about winning. And I think this is the thing is Pochettino didn't care about winning that game.
No, he did not. That meaningless friendly against Mexico,
Yeah.
his second game, no, he didn't.
And people were so mad about, Pulisic should have been there and, McKinney and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. Like, guys, they have a long season going on right now. This is a meaningless game. He brought him in. He saw him. You got some other guys who don't get as much national team time, Busio, Aiden Morris, some of those guys. And
some of the guys you just mentioned are injury prone.
yes,
So get them off the field once in a while.
that's the biggest problem. U.S. can play against most countries in the world at some point, at some level, but they never have their best team. Tyler Adams, Reyna, McKinney, Weah, Musa, Pulisic, they're all getting hurt all the damn time, it feels like. So,
Mexico knows who top dog is. They already know.
and
We didn't need to assert this on them in a friendly.
when the U.S. lost to Canada here in Kansas City, I always hate this, like, one team wanted it more than the other. And yes, Mexico wanted it more than the U.S. However, they didn't just roll over totally. They lost, and it was a fair loss. But the first goal was a spectacular goal.
Yeah,
Free kick.
it was.
And that sets the tone for the rest of it is now you're chasing So it wasn't that bad of a game against Mexico as people made it out to be. All that comes into play. Mexico, when we have a regular team there, watch out.
You think Poach is going to keep giving Busio looks?
He spoke favorably of Busio in the presser, but it was like somebody asked about the midfield. And it's kind of interesting listening to questions of Pochettino because I don't know if he just doesn't understand some things or doesn't want to understand something sometimes. But he goes, oh yeah, Bus and Aiden, good. So that was
That's it. All you need to know.
Yeah.
Succinct. He in the Mexico game, I think he started off slow, but warmed up into it, and he is a very calming presence. That defensive, he's exactly what the presence you want of a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, and again, people are going, oh, he wasn't doing enough. He wasn't doing this. And
That's fine.
That's
okay.
That's a different style of play. He's more of a possession guy, move the ball around, and find his moments. And if you watch Busio, you see things that he's trying and other guys aren't doing.
Yeah.
I see this with Venezia all the time. It's like damn, he and Johnny Russell connected better than Busio and random dude at Venezia.
He has an intelligence of how to position himself, how to use his body to get out of tight spots and not lose the ball in a tough spot. And that's the number one thing I'm looking for in a defensive midfielder. So I think he did it. I think he's going to keep getting more looks.
I hope so. And I think Poach understands that player better than perhaps Berhalter understood that player.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to say he's going to be better than Tyler Adams, but I mean, I think he's capable of being Tyler Adams.
Yeah. Robert, you kind of roll your eyes at that? I think he absolutely.
No, I was
could
rolling
be.
my eyes. I just didn't see the match.
That's
Don't
why
have
you're
the
silent.
channels.
All right. Thanks, boys. Any final thoughts? Anything we talked about this week?
Just waiting for the presser that's coming shortly.
Right, it'll be an interesting one.
And again, that won't be that will not be the announcement of players. That'll be talking about the season and the upcoming offseason, I'm sure. I think it will be with both Peter and Mike Burns. Just
Okay.
waiting for that.
All right. We'll be back next week.
Sporting.
The other side don't seem so tough, and 3 own goals ain't all that rough. paper has just been sent off. Some Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.